carrion and its attackers. At right and left, the faces of two men loom large, like propaganda posters. They are stony, ambiguous figures who seem implicated by their proximity and by their dispassion in the violence recorded in the center panel. The strange poster-like heads of triptychs of 1976 are echoed in triptych 1974-77 by the large heads that bracket a nude figure. The sky-blue background and sand-colored ground plane of the central image are restated in the beach settings of the side panels, each containing a figure elevated on a chair of wood and tubular construction and sheltered by a black umbrella. While the large heads were images that Bacon had often thought about, the horses and riders at left were an afterthought, incorporated for distance and movement. Landscape of 1978. The tenuousness of life is underscored in Bacon's repeated suggestion of the fragility of the human body. In no painting is this more eloquently expressed than in Study for Portrait of Michael Leiris of 1978. The skull-like depiction of Leiris's cranium at right, the broken white line that links Leiris's nose and ear, and the black ground against which the head is viewed, offer compelling evidence that as Bacon considered the face of his friend, he remembered as well the photographs and X-ray images of Clark's book, which had long intrigued him. The dramatic difference in scale between the different horses and the heads was intensified in Statue and Figures in a Street of 1983. Tiny dark figures, akin to those that populate the paintings of French artist Henri Michaud, move along the street, dwarfed by the huge statue and by the even more vast plain against which it is isolated. The human figure is overpowered, as by the insistent repetitions and disproportionately vast scale of fascist architecture. Bacon's sense of the poignancy of our condition, our helplessness in the face of an apparently indifferent universe, inflects the paintings of the past decade and a half. The fragility of the human form is suggested with gentle introspection in Sleeping Figure of 1974, whose huddled subject seems considerably more ephemeral than his own shadow. The nullity of death was defied in Sphinx, Portrait of Muriel Belcher of 1979, as Bacon rendered his robust old friend during the year of her death in the guise of an ageless ancient creature. Within the context of these reveries on finality, the threshold assumes momentous importance in Bacon's art. As in the Black Triptychs and the Oresteia itself, the dark events of Triptychs of 1981, inspired by the Oresteia of Aeschylus, are set before doorways. Part bird of prey, part mammal, the bloodied embodiment of the Erinyes of Aeschylus, which for Bacon is an image of disaster, seems momentarily snared within the schematic spatial structure at left. Tireless pursuers of men, the Erinyes appear with greatest clarity in a painting of 1974, Seated Figure. Dressed in black shorts, the seated figure twists his head away to escape the hideous creature who hovers at right. The four limbs and oddly fleshy wings of this predatory being shockingly identify in retrospect the shadowed presence in the central panel of Triptych, May-June of 1973, and call to mind Bacon's reflection that in modern life the Erinyes take the form of our private demons. An arrow points toward a bloodied opening in the body of the now familiar incarnation of the Furies in Oedipus and the Sphinx after Ingres of 1983. This repugnant creature is suspended beyond the doorway of the brightly lit room where Oedipus and the Sphinx meet, taking the place of Oedipus's companion in Ingres' painting of 1808. The black washes across the face and eyes of the heroically muscled figure of Oedipus. This foreshadows his blindness and distinguishes him from Ingres' clearly illuminated, pristine figure. Bacon's paintings are, in the end, about what we do in that space that we are allowed. We are born and we die, but in between, we give this purposeless existence a meaning by our drives. In Study of the Human Body of 1983, a spectral figure, legs straining as though at the end of a long climb, steps toward a doorway, arm reaching for the lock, calling to mind the macabre lingo of the chorus at the end of Eliot's Sweet Agonists. Early on, Bacon identified his subject matter, the raw facts of human existence. Tinged by his conviction that ours is a world devoid of any benevolent plan, his paintings defy the cosmic senselessness of our actions as they focus with vehemence, tenderness, remorse, and a plethora of other emotions on the private lives of their subjects. And it is with grandeur and a carefully metered formality that Bacon's paintings reinvent what we know, tearing away the veils of our existence.